So we're up to Daf Mem Gimel Amid Aleph. We said yesterday a rule that Stam Mishnah, the halacha is like a Stam Mishnah. What about, so we had a steer in Rabbi Yochanan. Rabbi Yochanan paskin one way, and the Stam Mishnah paskin the other way. Stam Mishnah said that in Arusa, even Arusa, you have to wait 3 months, and Rabbi Yochanan said you don't. He paskin like Rabbi Yossi. So he said that our Mishnah is a Stam V'achkach Machloikis. If first the opinion is anonymous, then followed by Machloikis, then it's not considered a Stam Mishnah. Conversely, if it's a Machloikis V'achkach Stam, then it is a Stam Mishnah. And regardless if the Brisa is Sasam after a Mishnah of Machloikis or before, it doesn't make a difference. The Brisa the Mishnah takes precedent. Now, we're going to go ahead now and bring in a Mishnah that has nothing whatsoever to do with anything in Yevamot, or it's Mishnah Masech the Kalim, right? If you have your book, this is what it looks like. You're looking at these things over here. Yeah, you're looking at pegs. You're looking at what page? Call the page.
221.
221. Page 221. The reason we're bringing these in is because this is a Stam Mishnah that the halach is not like that. So we don't, again, we're just using conceptually, it's a Mishnah. And I'll fill you in the blanks, but the kasha is, this is a Stam Mishnah and we don't paskin like that. So your rule is questionable. The Gemara is going to attempt and say that this Mishnah is, the reason why this is a Stam Mishnah that is the halakha is not like this Mishnah because there's a question on it. The Gemara is going to go ahead and deflect the question, and the Gemara is going to say this Mishnah, in fact, is not a Stam Mishnah, it's Rabbi Shimon. So our rule will remain intact. Stam Mishnah, the halakha kamoso. Here's a Stam Mishnah, the halakha is not like that, and the answer is this is not a Stam Mishnah. It's Rabbi Shimon. Okay, now we just have to fill in the blanks. What exactly is this Mishnah talking about? So in order to understand the Mishnah, we have a rule of thumb. A kli is makabel tuma. Once it has gemar malacha, it's makabel tuma. Once it's broken and it loses its shem kli, it's no longer called a vessel, no longer could it be makabel tuma. So under discussion is various combs that are used for different substances, one for flax, one for wool. And we're deciding when it's broken, when it's not broken. So at 120, if you look at the picture, you're looking at a comb, and it's makabel tuma when it's full. Going down one row, 199.2. If you take out its teeth, right, from beintayim, then it'll be tahar, because again, from each two you're removing one. Then this will be a flat. This is a semer. This is a comb that's used for wool. It wouldn't do the job. If, however, you leave 3 in one spot, it would be tamei. It still would have its same 192.3. It still would have the capacity to go ahead and transmit tumah makabel tumah. However, if one of those 3s is the outside one, which is usually the thickest, think of our combs. The last tooth of the comb is usually the thickest. Then it would still be it would be tar. It would be considered broken. Conversely, you put them 2 together, then it becomes a tweezer and it's makabel tumah. And even one individually that can be used as kind of a tool to clean out a wick or a wick from a lamp, or to go ahead and stretch a garment, it would be makabel tuma. Not the comb itself, but the piece taken off the comb. Okay, then the Gemara is going to go ahead and ask questions. We're going to just take a look at the pictures. You'll see 2. Okay, you'll get the idea. It's pretty straightforward. And then let's just fill in the blanks now. Fred the Gemara Amalei. Top line Mem Gimel Amid Aleph. You're telling me that the halakha is like a Stam Mishnah, but Tanan, Masrek Shel Pishton, a comb used to comb flax, Shenitlu Shenov, that you took out its teeth, V'nishtar Bushnayim, and 2 still remain, Tmeos, because they still can do the job. The Achas, however, if only 1 remains, Tahiris, it's Tahar. The Kulan Shenitlu Achas from the Atzman, each one taken individually, Tmeos. In other words, not the comb that's under discussion, but the piece taken off the comb, which could be used again as an implement to go ahead and clean out a wick or to stretch a garment. Shelt semer. What about the comb used for wool? Shenitlu sheinav achas mentayim. You have three, and you took out the one in between. Then tahar, that would be considered broken. It loses shem kli. Nishtayu boy gimel v'makom echad. If you have three remaining in one spot, then it still be able to be used for the comb wool, and therefore it would be tameh. It would be tameh. Three in one spot would be tameh. Okay. However, if of the three, one is the outermost tooth, the thickest one, then it would be tahar. Nitlu beis v'asa and lemalakid. If you take two and you use them to make a tweezer, then tameos. Achas v'skino lener. If you went achas one v'skino and you went ahead and metakin it that to use as a implement to clean out a wick, or to spread a garment, tamei would be tamei. The kaim lunda ein halacha kois the mishnah. That's the kasha. You see, again, we filled in the blanks. It's a stam mishnah, and the halacha is not like the stam mishnah. So we're questioning this rule of Rabbi. So I'm a labor b'amina dahi. This mishnah is what. Don't worry about this mishnah. Why? The Rabbi Yochanan Reish Lakish, they're both of equal opinion. The Ami Travayu Su ain't a mishnah. It's not a mishnah. In other words, there's a question on this mishnah that's so powerful that the mishnah must have been a mistake. Ain't a mishnah. It wasn't learned. The question the Gemara now is going to grapple. What exactly is the question on this mishnah that we say that it's not a mishnah? Good. So again, our rule is intact. Why is our rule intact? It's not mishnah. Ain't a mishnah because there's a question on this mishnah that's going to go ahead and take it out of the category of a mishnah. My timer. What's the question on this mishnah? Innately, in the Mishnah itself, you have a kasha from the ratio of the Mishnah to the end of the Mishnah. Diktani shel tsemer, you have a wool. Shenitlu sheinav achas mementayim. Again, you took out one from in between each one. You took out the middle from each one, tahar, because then it can't be used to comb wool. Hanishtayu b'shtayim b'makom echad. But in other words, guys, it's only look, you're removing the middle one. But if two would remain in one spot, then it would be tameh, right? Again, the reason why the number here is the three is tameh. Take out the middle one, it's tahar. Mashma, you won't take out the middle one, two, it still will be tameh, right? Because you didn't take out the middle one, you have two adjacent to each other. Okay, now the hadatani, and then you learn in the same Mishnah. Nishtayu ba gimel tameh. If you have three together, it's tameh. Gimel in shtayim loy. So the inference from the reisha to the seifa is shver. The reisha says if you take out the middle one, then it's tahar. Two together is tameh. The seifa says three together is tameh. Mashma two together is tahar. So the inference from the reisha to the seifa is shver, and therefore ain't a mishnah because of that question. Says no, my question. Maybe not. Maybe it's not such a question. Dilma ha b'gavaisa ha b'braisa. It depends. There is an outer one, and there's one that's outside and one that's closer. Let's take a look, guys. Take a look at page 221, upper left. The gavaisa is when it's opposite the handle. You see the 192.7, guys? That's when it's opposite the handle, then it's tameh. Conversely, if the two are off the handle, you do the job then it will be tahar. So maybe your contradiction is not a contradiction. The one that says that's tahar is speaking about what? When it's offset. The one that says it's a nice picture. The one that says it's tameh is when what? As you can imagine, right? If it's centered, it's much easier to use. So therefore, that's one that would remove the question of in the Mishnah. It will restore the Mishnah, correct? And therefore, it would be a question of Rabbi to our rule of a stam Mishnah. But you want to say this is not a Mishnah. Why not? Because of that question? That can't be the question. We answered the question. Once we answer the question, the Mishnah is intact. If the Mishnah is intact, you have a stam Mishnah. The halacha is like that, the Mishnah. Continuing on, so that can't be the question that would tell Reish Lakish and Rabbi Yochanan to say this Mishnah is not a Mishnah. It can't be that question. There must be another question. Elamei hacha diktani. What does it say in the Mishnah? The kulan shenitlu achas achas b'nei atzman tameis. Each one of these teeth that you take out is tamei. Mashma right away. V'af agav deloy hiskina. Even if you did nothing to them, You just took it off. It broke. You took it off right away. It itself independently is tamei. Aim a seifa, but in the seifa, what did it say? Achas, one, v'hiskina, and then you were metaking it. It's mashma, you did something to it. Good. If you, in other words, then it's going to be tamei. So now you have a stira. Is this one thing tamei or tar if it's not metukin? Good. Says the Gemara. Hiskina l'ner l'mituach then tameya. Says the Gemara. Hiskin in le'hiskin aloi. So that's the question that caused Rabbi Yochanan and Rish Lakish to say this Mishnah is not a Mishnah. Amar Abaya, Umay Kushya, 1 second. I can go ahead and answer that objection as well. Dilma ha b'katayu, ha b'loy katayu. Guys, if it depends, if it has its base or not, 190 to 11. If it has b'katayu, it has the base, then it's tamei. Or if it doesn't, it's tahar. Versus 192.2. In other words, when would you have to do something to it? That's only if it doesn't have a base. But if it has a base, you wouldn't have to do anything to it. So I answered your question. Or 192, the last one on the page, when it's thicker and it can be used to go ahead and separate or stretch, because it's thicker, then it's tamei. But if it's small, if it's thin, then it's tahar. So in other words, if that's your question, then 1 second, I got an answer to that question. As a matter of fact, I got 2 answers to answer that question. That would restore the Mishnah and then restore our question. Here's the Stam Mishnah that the Lach is not like it. Good. So now, someone buying my kushya, Dilma Habi Katayu, Hub like Katayu. With Katayu, it's Tamei. Without the base, it's Tahar. Amra Papa, my kushya, Vidilma Habi Katinasa, that's when it's Tahar. Harba Amilasa, when it's thicker, then it's Tamei. So therefore, that cannot be that. In other words, there's no question over here that would cause us to move off this Mishnah. So right now we're holding by a question. We have a Stam Mishnah that the Allah is not like a question on the rule that the Allah is Stam Mishnah that we say all the time throughout Shas. Guys, we say it all the time. Stam Mishnah Kreb Stam Mishnah Kreb and what? Okay, guys. So right now we're holding by a kasha. Says the Gemara, but we don't have a kasha because it's not a Stam Mishnah. Elam Mishum. The Messiah, but Dafkani, the people who are very, very what? The people who are very medugdik in the Mishnah, Zu Divrei Reb Shimon. These are the words of Reb Shimon. So very good, guys. If it's the words of Shimon, then what's it not? It's not a Stam Mishnah. It's not a Stam Mishnah. Then your question is Nishkan Kasha.
Now, what is the Machotis and Halacha? We didn't talk about what the word of soccer is.
I don't know the rest. Maybe just one is the whole thing. Maybe I don't know if it's chumrah or it's cool. I'm not sure. Shalach Reb Chia, Shalach Reb Chia bar Oven me'arsin toich gimel. You could again. How do we get, guys? We got into the sugya, right? What was that sugya? We're in the sugya of havchana, waiting 3 months. We had a shita of the Chachamim, the Tanakama, that said any woman, have no matter what, even if the possibility doesn't exist that she was pregnant, you'd have to wait. We had the shita of Yehuda only in the Suah, but not in Arusa. We had Rabbi Yossi saying some ambiguous statement about only in the Suah that was an Almana and because of Avelis. But he doesn't hold enough Chan at all, which we're going to see. Getting into the sugya, reverting back to our sugya, okay? Or as we say, back to our regularly programmed schedule, right? The rain delay is over, right? Now we can get back to the game. Says the Gemara. Shalach Reb Chia bar Ravin, ma'arsin toich gimel, v'chein oisin ma'isa. He said, you could go ahead and get engaged. Again, not married. Ma'arsin means what? Except kedushin, but you're not living together. So he still believes in the concept of avchana. He's just not geyser. If I let you go ahead and get engaged, you may come to go ahead and consummate the marriage and cause the tsaris that we were worried about. Machlokes Shmuel and Rav. Says the Gemara, "V'chein oisin ma'isa." They did. Taka did that. A person would be able to get engaged. What may toich the 3 months? V'chein hoyer Rebbe Lozan b'lameinu b'shem Rebbe Chanina Hagadol Ruba shel Rishon v'Ruba shel Shlishi v'Emtzoi Shalem. When could you get engaged? Roiv of the first month, the second month, and Rov of the third month. Okay, so if you have 15, 15, and 30 in the middle, you'll be able to get in 60 days rather than 90 days. He would Memo was said a little earlier. You don't have to wait the full 90 days. On the 90th day, you would be able to go ahead and get engaged. chutz miyam shemes boy, chutz miyam shenis arsa boy. We have to wait what? Three complete months, not including the days what of that died or the day of the erison. So how can you go ahead and get me to 90? It says mahula and you may nekasit. That's not speaking about avchana that of 3 months. That's speaking about what? That's speaking about marrying a nursing woman of 24 months. The Rav Shmuel Amit Shavayu tzrich lahatim chavdal chodesh chutz miyam shenoilad boy v'chutz miyam shenisarsa boy. Further more about uvda the sudas erison b'yom teshiyim after they made a sudas erison on the 90th day and they took it away. He went ahead and took it away because he was over on Takon of Chum said a full 90 days. Afsida Rav Sudase says, he sudas nesuin havi. That was a sudas nesuin. Sudas nesuin, right? Is so therefore they obviously in sudas nesuin they consummated the marriage. Therefore they took it away. But erison, if it was sudas erison, they would have gone ahead and not stopped it. The hilchas halacha is tzrich lahamtin chavdal chodesh. You have to wait 24 months. Chutz miyam shenoilad, excluding the day that was of what of that the child was born, and chutz the biyom shenis arsa boy, and chutz from the day that you were engaged. The tzrich lahamtin gimel chadoshim chutz miyam shemes boy v'chutz miyam shenis arsa. You have to wait 3 months, excluding the day that the person died, excluding the days that they were. So this is the conclusion, sort of the conclusion of the sugya of havchana, a major sugya in Masechta Yevamot. Now, the last din of the Mishnah, we had 3 machloekes: the Tanakama, Rabbi Yehuda, and now we have Rabbi Yossi who said something about almana. So now, what exactly did he say? He said, except an almana from Avelis. What exactly did he mean? Right? The Mishnah said, that stama from Avelis, she has to wait, but not because of havchana, but because of simcha. Not because of havchana, because of simcha. Rabbi Yossi, Aimer, kol hanoshim is arsu. All women can get engaged. They can accept kesef kedushin. Chutz min almana. Why? Mifnei avela, because of avelis, but not because of what? Of havchana. I'm just reading you Rashi in the Mishnah. Mifnei avela, avelis. V'hai kol hanoshim is arsu. When it says all women can accept kesef kedushin, lav l'mute arusa linasei. It doesn't mean that to exclude a girl from getting married. The hasam, Rabbi Yehuda svirlei. Gabi avchana. Rabbi Yossi mekel tfei. In other words, he disagrees. He says that he says you can even go ahead and consummate the marriage because he disagrees with the concept of what of havchana. The Kedama, as we'll see. He's only coming to argue with him on Avelis. Okay? So says the Mish, says the Gemara now. Amra chutz min almana. So no, it's almana from Avelis you would not be able to accept. Amra of Chisna, kal b'choyme that you should be able to accept. Kal b'choyme you should be able to accept. Okay, let's go ahead and identify 2 types of Avelis. One, the week of Tisha B'Av. Tisha B'Av, we know there's a din of Avelis, and the week before Tisha B'Av, there's a type of Avelis, and also 30 days. We know there's a Shiva for a novel, and then there's Shleishim of a novel. Says the Gemara. Amrav Kis the Kal V'chomer. Uma b'makom she'asur l'chabes, where it's asur to go ahead and wash the week before Tisha B'Av. Mutar la'ares, it's mutar to get engaged. Makom she'mutar l'chabes, 30 days before, where it's mutar to go ahead and wash. Ein adin she'mutar la'ares. It's not a kal v'chomer that she'mutar to get married. So you, Rabbi Yossi, have the opinion that for 3 months you're not able to go ahead and accept erison because of avelis. What are you talking about? I have a kal v'chomer that says you should be able to. Kal v'chomer from what? From Tisha B'Av. Madach Tisha B'Av, which is such a shver avelis, guys. Such a shver avelis that the week of Tisha B'Av, you're not able to go ahead and wash, but nonetheless you could get engaged. So certainly 30 days in, Rabbi Yossi is talking about 3 months in, right? 30 days in, certainly you should be able to go ahead and accept erison. Why? Because you're able to wash. That's a very good kal v'chomer. He doesn't hold it, right?
Rabbi Yossi doesn't hold that concept, so he holds you can't get engaged on phone word either.
Because as avelis. Says Maihi Detanya, right? What is it? What are you talking about? Where do you get this kal v'chomer from? Now we have a Mishnah. Shabbos shechal Tisha B'Av b'seifa. The week of that Tisha B'Av b'schalin, also l'saper to take a haircut, u'lechabes to wash your clothing, u'bechamishi. But on Thursday, mutar b'fnei kavod Shabbos. Betanya koidim hazman hazeh. Before the week before Tisha B'Av, ham mematin b'eskehim, people will go ahead and diminish their amount of what of their businesses. Melisa malita from doing business, melibnais from building, and from planting, arsin, avoid coinsin. They would get engaged, but they wouldn't go ahead and consummate the marriage. So you see, they would get engaged, even what the time before that you were able to get einois and sudais are erisin, but they wouldn't make sudas erisin because there's a simcha associated with that. So the bottom line is you have a question on Rabbi Yossi. And if the Gemara Kitanya, he is kaidim the kaidim. It wasn't speaking about what this that we just said. Kaidim azman hazeh does not mean the week before Tisha B'av. It means the week that was before that. The week before that, you were able to wash your clothing, and therefore it's not a good kavachayim. Right? It's not a good kavachayim. Rava, the kaidim nami kavachayim. Even 2 weeks before would be a good kavachayim. Why? It's also to do business. Mutar la'ares, it's mutar to get engaged. It's not a kavachayim that you should be able to go ahead and get engaged. Once you're waiting for 30 days before, it's certainly you're able to get engaged. So therefore, we have a kasha on Rabbi Yossi based upon this kavachayim. Rabbi Yossi says you can't go ahead and get engaged for 3 months. Why? If I can do business, I should be able to go ahead and get engaged. Says the more Rabbi Yossi Omer kala nashim yisarsu. Don't say all women can get engaged except this woman. Alei kol hanoshim, all women yinasu. They can consummate a marriage, right? All women can consummate a marriage except an amana from Avelis. So Erisin, of course, you could accept. And even during Avelis, guys, you could accept. And even in Avelis, you could go ahead and accept. What can't you do? All women, says Rabbi Yossi, are able to consummate a marriage because Rabbi Yossi does not hold of havchana, as I showed you Rashi in the Mishnah. He says you don't have to wait 3 months. You don't have to wait 3 months. And thereby, so the only one who can't is the almana because of Avelis. Says the top Rashi on the Amid Beis. Except that almana because of Avelis. Rabbi Yossi loy evo asalashminan. He's not coming to teach me a chiddush of nevelis. The Nesuin, I feel Rabbi Yehuda might did asar. Rabbi Yehuda we said by Nesuin it's asar. He'd agree it's asar. He may evil. The shmaitzhi. In other words, you can't. Rabbi Yehuda guys who and Rabbi Yossi's argument, Rabbi Yehuda, they both agree by avelis you would not be able to get married, to consummate a marriage. So what's the machloikas between Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Yossi? Eli nasu aslashmina. Rabbi Yossi is coming to tell me a chiddush of what? A much bigger chiddush, that he doesn't hold of havchana, and you're able to consummate the marriage. Upolagad Rabbi Yehuda. Dama, Rabbi Yehuda says, Kol hanasuas yisarsu. All nasuas are able to get engaged. Engaged, yes, but what? Guys, accept kesef kedushin, but not able to go ahead and consummate the marriage. For us, Rabbi Yossi comes along the name to say, I feel in the suas hinasu. Even one that was what? Previously married is able to go ahead and get married. There's 3 machloikas in the matter. This is a very nice summary of the different shitas. The gimel machloikas bedava in the Mishnah, the Tanakama, Rabbi Yehuda, and Rabbi Yossi. What's the machloikas? Tanakama is the most severe shita. The Tanakama asa afilu arusais la'ares. Tanakama says even a woman that we don't have to be concerned she's pregnant, because why? She only accept kesef kedushin and never lived with a husband, with the exception of Yehuda, because liba gaspa, right? There would be asa to go. They'd have to wait 3 months. Why? The gazru arusais rishon atenusua. The gaza the arusas because of nesuais. Because you know arusais the achrain atenusuas the achrain, and the gaza arusa of the second to the of the last. Rabbi Yehuda sava hanesuas yis arsu. Arusas would be able to, and we're not geyser. But arusas yinasu like geyser. Arusas atunasua. Avalham avchana mia isla. You have avchana. Finesua leitinase, and therefore nesua should not get married. So therefore, Rabbi Yehuda says that what arusa would be able to go ahead and get married, but not nesua. Rabbi Yossi, I feel avchana lesla, and even nesua will be able to get married. 3 shitas from one to the other. Tanakama, all women. Rabbi Yehuda only nesuos, but Erisin would be able to go ahead and get married, and Rabbi Yossi 0, no avchana. That's the Gemara will say right now. For Leslie, Rabbi Yossi avchana, ibay seima. That's a kasha question mark. Teretz put in the words of the Bach. Ibay seima Leslie. Taka does not hold of it. He does hold of it. right? He does hold him it. Oh, so therefore, if he holds him it, what's his teretz? If he holds him it, so what? So what is he coming to argue on? And all Nesuas are not able to get married within 3 months. If they're previously married, they can't get married within 3 months. So the Eimer Rabbi Yossi Yomer, and read the Mishnah this way: the Eimer Rabbi Yossi Yomer kol arusais gerushais yinasu. All arusais that became gerushais yinasu, they were able to get married. If they're almanas, they can't get married because of avelis. If they're gerushais, they will be able to get married. So just add one word: kol arusais gerushais yinasu would be able to get married. Says if that's the case, you got a kasha. Doesn't Rabbi Yehuda agree with that? Guys, Rabbi Yehuda says if you're in Arusa, you're able to consummate a marriage. Again, I'm saying a lot of words. Tanakama, everyone's out. Let's focus on one thing. Focus on thing. An Arusa, is she able to consummate a marriage or not? Says Rabbi Yehuda, yes. Says Rabbi Yehuda, yes. Says Rabbi Yossi, if she's an Arusa, that's a Gerusha, not. Why? Yes. But if she's an Arusa, that's an Almana, not because of Avelis. Good. So now comes out that both disagreeing in the same case. When you're an Arusa, whether you accept the Suin or not, right? That you could accept the Suin. So the Gemara wants to know, then he's saying the exact same thing as Rabbi Yehuda. Yihachi hein Rabbi Yehuda. It could be nine in the Suas La'ares, right? Well, then the Sua can accept Erisin. Rabbi Yehuda Sava and the Sua Muteris La'ares. And the Sua could accept Erisin. She could accept Kesef Kedushin. Rabbi Yossi Sava, the Sua Asura La'ares. He's more machmir. And initially we held he was more makel. Now we're saying he's more machmir. That the Nesua is also to accept kesef kedushin. Fred the Gemara b'sav Rabbi Yossi Nesua asur li'ares v'tanya Yossi Omer kol anoshim yisarsu chutz min almana b'fnei ha'evel v'kama evel shalosh shloshim yoyim v'kulam la'yinasu ad sheyu lehen gimel chadashim. So in other words, the Chayra, he says that what that an arusa would be able to accept accept kesef kedushin. Says Mahaimai, Kosha, Elam in the Tanya Rabbi Omer, Kol Noshim Yisarsu, right? All the women can accept Erisin, and that would be a kasha. Mialim Masnisan, is any stronger than our Mishnah that we fooled around with the words? Do Kimdo Barusas Gerusha, so Yinasu, that in other words, that Arusa Gerusha could marry. So Hanami, Kol Arusas Gerusha Yinasu. In other words, it's not a kasha. What's your kasha? All Arusas could get married, and you have a kasha. No, that kidding. He says kol nesuas arusais, and he says you can't accept Erisin. So you have a kasha. He says you could accept Erisin. Who is speaking about accept Erisin? If she's a gerusha, she could accept Erisin. Elamei Sefer. The kasha on Rabbi Yossi is from the Sefer. The kulon la yinasu sheyula gimel chadashim. Says and all of them, and all of them. The kulan, all women who are nesuais, la yinasu should not go ahead and consummate a marriage. It's mashma that what in suvehu deloi hayesterusei shapidami. But you would go ahead and accept erisin, and we're not goyzer. If you do erisin, you may come to nesuin. Okay. So, and this is not like we said that Rabbi Yossi says it's asa to accept erisin. In other words, you said Rabbi Yossi says that nesua couldn't accept erisin. Here you see from the diak that she could accept erisin. And for the Gemara, Ella says the Gemara, you're right. So, Amarava Tiritz Emahachi. Rabbi Yossi Omer, Kol Arusais Gerushais Yinasu. All Arusais that were divorced. So you don't have to worry about Avelis. And you don't have to worry about pregnancy. They can consummate a marriage. Chutz min almana, b'fnei evel, except an almana because of Avelis. V'kama ibol shalo, how much is the amount of Avelis? Is shleishim yom. And this is speaking about an arusa that was an avelis. Unesuis lo yisarsu, and the one who consummated a marriage should not accept kesef kedushin at sheyu lem shleish chadashim, which is what is the way he explained Rabbi Yossi that he asks from nesua to accept erisin. Fred the Gemara v'almanim and erisin mi islay. Evil, you're telling me that if you have to wait 3 months, I'll avelis. What kind of avelis do you have from erisin? Again, she never lived with the husband. She never lived with him. So what kind of a balis do you have? Almanim and Erisin, Islay, Ibul, do you have a morning when it's an Almanah from Erisin? But Tani Reb Chia, Bar Ami, Ishdai, someone, Arusa, a person's wife dies, Loi Oinin, there's no din of Aninus, of the day of the burial, that you're an Oinin, that you put from mitzvahs, Floi Mitamala, and if you're a Kohen, you can't be Mitama to her. She's no din of avails to him. We said Shasta Regel. It says Mesa can't be a Kohenis. Kohenis is not Muslim in Tumah. Mesa, if she dies, any Yarsha doesn't inherit her. Mesu Goiva as Ksuvasa, she collects a Ksuba. So you see that there's no din of availus by an Arusa. So why would Rabbi Yossi hold that you have to wait 3 months because of wad of availus? Ella, why do you have to say Tanahi? It's Taka Machloikas Tanayim. Going back, Rabbi Yossi's Isis says all Amanis Laris Mefeya Aval. And Rav Chisda asked the question that you should learn from a Kavachayim at the Hatter. Go back to the beginning of the Sugya, guys. Rabbi Yossi says an almana can't go ahead and get married. We had a Kavachayim. Madach, a time where you could do business, right? You can't do business. You're able to get engaged. So to the time you could do business, certainly you're able to get engaged. So therefore, the kasha Rabbi Yossi, that was his kasha. So going back before the whole dialogue, I'm going to say in Achinami, Rabbi Yossi is of the opinion that what is machmir and even though there's a kavachayim is machmir, and because it's machlekes tanoim in Rabbi Yossi Sava, he's going to hold like the following shita. The Tanya, what's the machlekes tanoim? Merish chodesh va'ad tainis, from Merish chodesh av until Tisha B'av, ha'am mematim, they should go ahead and diminish me'askeim from their business dealings, u'melisa litain, melivnois from building, u'atoya from planting, u'melaris, and from getting engaged, u'melisa, and from and getting married. Shabbos shechal, that's the whole beginning of the month. Shabbos shechal Tisha B'av b'soichet, the Shabbos that Tisha B'av is chalin, it's asa l'saper u'lechabes. The Yesh Oimrim, here's the Yesh Oimrim, guys. Kol HaChodesh, even the whole month, asa. So you have a Tana who says that it's asa to get engaged the whole month, right? And argues on the Baisa. If he holds like this das that says it's asa, and therefore he said all 30 days of Avelis would be asa. So in other words, the state Almana, opinion Almana, Einachinami, and Almana will not be able to go ahead and accept Kedusha. Masler Ravashi, Memai, the La'aris Mamish, Dilmalam Abitz Sudas Erisin. Maybe it doesn't mean to go ahead and accept Erisin, which would be a big simcha. Maybe it means what? Just a Sudas Erisin, which is a small simcha. The Asa, Halaris, but get engaged Shapidami, because it's not such a simcha. Again, we're speaking about Avelis. So getting engaged, but maybe the Suda is Asa, but getting engaged not. Yehachi says the Gemara, if it's speaking about the Suda, then when it says Melisa from getting married, Linase Nami, it would mean what? That you can consummate a marriage and not go ahead and have a Suda. Whenever it's Sudas and Su and Huda Asa, Lisa Shapidami. Be consistent, guys. You're being in the same brisa that you can't get engaged, you can't get married. So getting married also would mean, if the erisin means that you can't have a sudas erisin, the nesuin also mean you can have a sudas nesuin. So the hachi hashta bishleim and nesuin belay suda ikasimcha. Even without the suda, there's the simcha of getting married, consummating a marriage. El erisin belay suda ikasimcha. Getting engaged is not such a simcha. Having again, it's not official. There's a vart, right? You have to have the vart. Then there's a Suda, there's the Vart. And then all of a sudden, El Ravashi says, Ravashi, you can't learn a Kavachayma of Avelis of Tisha B'av to Avelis of the Almana. Why? Shiny Avelis of the Almana, Chadosha, because it's new, the Avelis Yishana from Avelis that's old. In other words, even if you're able to go ahead and get engaged by what? By Tisha B'av, that's because it's an old. Mashen can't a new, fresh Avelis, guys, right? Then you can't. That's Ramayit. So making a chilik in the Avelis of Tisha B'av to the Avelis of what? Of losing your husband. The shiny Avelis, Avelis of Rabbim, Avelis the Yachid. Another difference is the Avelis of Rabbim of Tisha B'av is more makel than the Avelis of a Yachid. So therefore, the question that you're asking from Tisha B'av that to have a heta kalvachaymet that she should be able to get married, it's not a good kalvachaymet for two reasons. One, Tisha B'av is so long time ago. Losing a husband is fresh, and two, one for the rabbin, one's for the individual. An individual's avelis is felt more for himself versus what of a rabbin, which is for. Good night, everybody.